for joining us today. Of course, talking about agriculture, we can't talk about it enough. Half of the population of the state depends on agriculture for its sustenance, and it's only obvious to say that the sector is going to play a huge role in the journey towards $1 trillion economy. So starting with Mr. Chaturvedi, sir, when we talk about the role that agriculture plays in the roadmap to $1 trillion economy, we don't just talk about increasing agricultural output, we also have to think in terms of increasing farm income in a healthy way, because they are also part of the demand and eventually the GDP. So what are the broad areas that you can talk about that the government is working on in order to boost both output as well as farm income?
Well, it's a very broad question, but I'll just take limited time to answer this. See, the issue is that in UP, 59% of the workforce is engaged in agriculture sector, and its contribution to GDP is around 26–27%. So obviously, two things can be concluded from this. First is that dependence on agriculture is high, and secondly, the other aspect is the agriculture incomes, the incomes of agriculture households are much less as compared to non-agricultural households. Yeah. So the whole strategy is how we increase the farm incomes. And the strategy here is, there are threefold strategies. First, of course, is that we reduce the cost of cultivation. So there are various strategies, various schemes and programs for that. Second is we improve the productivity. The third is we have the better market to give the better market for this, all the reforms. Yeah. And then, of course, fourth is you have high value products in terms of diversification, value addition. And overall, it's the climate change challenges which we have to take up. These are the 6 strategies on which we are working to ensure that sustainable livelihoods of farmers are obtained and the incomes also increase.
Mr. Shukla, you have been an sugar industry veteran, which holds a very, it's quite important to the state of UP. It's one of the biggest industries here, agro-based industries. What, in terms of, now there are 2 targets that the state as well as the country is chasing. One is to increase the output of sugar with an aim to export it as much as we can. Then there's also the ethanol blending program. So how do you think, the government should balance the 2 targets in order to achieve maximum output as well as farm income, ultimately to converge and achieve this target of $1 trillion?
See, sugar industry has adopted the approach of partially converting the sugar product into the sugar, yeah, and then partially to divert into the ethanol. Yeah. Now we are in a situation where we produce enough sugar to cater for our needs. At the same time, then we have a target of 10% blending of ethanol at the moment until this year. And then we are targeting 20% blending in the next 5 years. Yeah. So we have to achieve that 20% and we have to prepare ourselves. How do we convert the technology to, adopt to that change? That is our challenge, and I think it is a doable project. Industry has been very well supported by the government in the last few years. And a lot of hurdles that we had with the farmers in the processing and the policies, they have been overcome. So I think we are moving in the right direction. But then the issue is not just sugar. We are targeting to multiply our economy 5 times. We are not looking at 10%, 20% or 50%. 5 times is a big number. From an economy of 17 lakh crore to 80 lakh crore. The gap is almost 50 crore. Even if we do nothing, we will still touch 25 without doing anything. But then if we handle it and we look at the gap, which is 50 lakh crore, how do we do that? Yeah. Can we do it the way we are doing? We will not. Can we progress and creep on maybe 10%, 5%? We will not. So we have to look at the steps which we have not thought of.
Can you share some?
That is the idea I'm trying to blend in. See, any industry that we want to set up, Suppose we want to go for ethanol alone. We set up distilleries. There is a time frame. There has to be capacity to put up the sugar factory, to put up the distilleries. Do we have the infrastructure to produce that machinery? No. We cannot have it 5 times. We may have 20%, 30%, 40%. But 5 times, no. So what do? Sugar industry is the solution. See, the biggest product that we have in our state is agro products. And what we need here is agro processing.
Right.
And what we can do in sugar industry is process agri products along with the sugar cane within the complex of sugar industry. We don't need to procure land. We don't need to get labor from somewhere. We don't need any technology we have. So infrastructure is in place, manpower is in place. We have our own power, electricity. So everything is in place. What needs to be done is government to come forward, invest in some of the factories which are in the cooperative sector or corporation sector, produce a model. And once a few factories adopt this agro-processing within the sugar factory, the private sector will jump on it. We have plenty of agro products, vegetables, fruits that are just spoiled. You must have read, potatoes thrown on the road, tomatoes thrown on the road, mangoes just go raw, waste. So all those things can be processed within the complex of the sugar industry without doing much of the efforts. But somebody has to pioneer, and I think government, we have Mr. Chaturvedi to, get into that.
So would you like to add to it? Because if we also talk about horticulture and the immense potential that the industry possesses in the state, horticulture and food processing. So there's a lot of action happening on that front as well in UP, a lot of investments that are coming in. What is the current, present state and what is the way forward?
You see, as I mentioned earlier, diversification is one of the strategy.
Yeah.
And diversification has 3 aspects. One is you diversify into the high-end product of the same crop, like we have basmati, we have kala namak. Then we have diversification to other crops like pulses and oil seeds. And the third is towards horticulture and its products. And of course, diversification in horticulture is moving ahead in a big way. But the challenge of post-harvest losses and post-harvest infrastructure is something which we need to address in a big way.
Yeah.
And that's why we are shortly, there is a process of finalizing the food processing policy, which will be addressing these challenges, which will be coming out in a very short while from now. And the other aspect is where we have this Government of India's Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, which is primarily focusing on post-harvest infrastructure. So they are providing 3% interest subvention and equity linked and credit guarantee to various post-harvest infrastructure loans. And Government of India has come up with 3% additional interest subvention. So effectively, there is a 6% interest subvention on any loans of post-harvest infrastructure, which means that you are getting a loan, entrepreneur is getting loan at 2 to 3% only, which is a big incentive for them, apart from the capital subsidy which will be there in the policies. So it's there just to ensure that there are investments in infrastructure of food processing and post-harvest technology, especially in horticulture sector, are coming to the level where we expect and where there is a gap.
Okay. Aditi, now there has been a spurt of, do you need the mic? Yeah. So there has been a spurt of agri-tech startups, so to say, and at Freshworks, I'm sure you must also be partnering with a lot of these agri-tech startups to solve their issues. So how do you see technology coming in to the whole space of agriculture to help it propel to its maximum? And is there any specific project that you're involved in UP or any area that you find, attractive enough? Yeah.
Thank you for the question and thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
I think I want to take the first part of your question where you say that where do you see and have you been working or are you aware of any agri-tech startup that has been doing great? My answer would be yes and no. It's very partial in terms of the progress that they've made because till the time we don't open up channels of communication with any organization and dissemination of information, till the time that happens, the overall rounded product that will come out of that startup is going to be very, very preliminary. That is one observation. Second, you asked me that whether you are working with someone or do you see a use case, etc. Farmers and people who are probably marginally educated or not exposed to the digital transformation journey that we've been talking about. See, whatever kind of solution or digital transformation that we do, I feel in a country like ours, wherein the geography and the terrains are very, very varied, we have to make complementary solutions, not just completely digital solutions. There has to be a good mixture between digital and non-digital. Shake hand is the kind of the approach that one should take when you're targeting a large audience like farmers or agriculture. Coming to an example, and I'm going to not name the state, but say I'm a farmer, and I grow chana ka dal, and I was just talking to sir about the same thing back there. Now, if I make 50 rupees a day, for example, or make 500 rupees a day, and to sell that chana ka dal, I have to travel 50 kilometers to find a mandi, and when I go there, I am not happy with the rate that that mandi is providing because it's cutting down on my profit margin. If in advance, I know that these are the 4 mandis around my pin code, and these are the rates that these mandis are providing for these kind of crops, I will take a conscious call and a decision, and I'm going to save up on my transport cost in that way. I'm going to plan my day accordingly. So, yes, technology can be an enabler. It's about what problem we are trying to solve and who is our beneficiary. So, right. Yeah, I'd like to stop here.
Okay.
I hope I've answered your question.
No, surely. I'll come back to you. And Hans, now you represent Austria, you're the trade commissioner here. What are the trade relations like, and how big a role does agriculture play when it comes to bilateral trade between the two countries? Because obviously UP will feature there because it's part of the food bowl of the country. And from an export perspective, what are the areas that need to be worked on? If you could share some of the...
So first of all, I would like to thank Economic Times for inviting me, and it's a really pleasure being here. Well, when I hear that mangoes are rotten in the fields, on the street, and if I see how high are the mango prices in Europe, I mean, the potential is definitely there, and it's very sad. I mean, here in India, you buy the mangoes in kilos. We buy it per piece because it's so expensive. So potential is there. And I think I heard it was very, very interesting, the government, the policy supporting, I think the framework is there. India is investing a lot. The potential is enormous, it's definitely there. And I think it's a decision UP has to make. If you want, I mean, as we know, India is belongs in major suppliers in agriculture product, and UP is a major part of this. So it depends if you want to export the traditional products, or if you want to export products which are higher value, higher up in the value chain. And then I think it's a lot of course, a lot of work to do. And then it comes the business people in. The structure is there, the framework is there. I heard the government is planning trade delegations to Europe, so most welcome come to Austria. It would be a pleasure to hosting a delegation from UP. And I think this is necessary. Connecting, as I said before, idea, using that, connecting that, and knowing the other markets. You must understand the European market. You must understand, for example, now the topic is the organic foods. For example, Austria is a leader in organic foods. Then waste management, sustainability was mentioned before. We heard the World Bank, they are financing. So I think you have a perfect ecosystem there. And now the business people come in and using that. So study our markets, potential is definitely there. We have many examples, for example, with other states and provinces. For example, Bangladesh is very strong in shrimps exports, so they focus on that. I know very well the example of Ecuador. They started many years ago. So develop. You must focus where you can be strong, where you have an ecosystem, and focus on that. And of course, as I said, understanding our markets, marketing, branding, what we need, of course, food safety, very important, packaging, and all these technologies are available. Of course, as we heard before from our German colleague, it's expensive. But then business plan comes into force. Invest in that, study the market, use the technologies, and the potential there. But of course, it's your decision which kind of products, agriculture products you want to export, and how much they're up in their supply, in the value chain. Yeah, and one important aspect I almost forgot. As you maybe know, we are negotiating a free trade agreement India with European Union. So there's now the third round of negotiations. We are planning to end the negotiations positively, hopefully, end of next year. And this is a huge opportunity, of course, for all products, but especially also for the agriculture sector. Yeah.
Okay, so best of luck with that. And one question that I would like to throw open to all of you is the issue of climate change, because that's something that, I mean, I hope I'm proved wrong, but that's only going to get worse, at least in the foreseeable future. This year, we've had extreme heat destroying wheat crop. If I talk about only about UP, then we've had floods, excessive rains destroying paddy harvesting. Of course, the government, sir, to ask you the question, is always ready to provide relief measures, but is there a sustainable sort of way to work around this issue? And maybe, Aditi, you could also talk about how tech can come in there. So, and when I say climate change, I'm not just talking about floods, heat conditions. I'm also talking about agriculture as a pollutant. So bringing in more ecological practices of cultivation, and what is the present status of agriculture in UP on these fronts, and what's the way forward, if you could?
You see, climate change is something which is not just being caused because of agriculture, but because of various sectors.
Yeah, but it affects...
So there are two strategies. One, of course, is that we ensure that agriculture itself becomes sustainable and it doesn't contribute so much to the global warming and all those things. And second aspect is to ensure that, having accepted the fact that this will remain for some time till mitigation measures take place, we develop technologies and practices which reduce the distress caused due to climate change. So we are working in both strategies. And if you must be hearing in the last few years, the concept of natural farming and organic farming. So it's all there so that the fossil fuel-based fertilizers and chemical pesticides are reduced, and we are able to produce products with same level of productivity and better quality with the reduced use of such chemical fertilizer. That is one aspect. Second aspect is how we can improve the efficiency of water usage in agriculture. And for that, we have a huge number of investments coming up in micro irrigation, and also more and more use of surface water as compared to the groundwater. So these are the few strategies. There are many others, but I would just wanted to name the Government of India and state government is moving ahead in those directions. And of course, developing climate resilient varieties, and then ensuring that farmers' distress is reduced through this crop insurance schemes and providing relief through the disaster management measures. So obviously, we are accepting the fact that this will remain a challenge for a few years, and we have to face these challenges through these technologies. And of course, a lot of startups are coming which are bringing in new solutions for climate smart agriculture, and slowly and steadily they will be adopted through policy measures and through ensuring that they become part of our ecosystem of subsidies and schemes.
Right. Thank you, sir. You would like to add?
I'm going to quickly
role of tech and digital.
I'm going to quickly try and attempt this one. So, you know, the way you don't need fire extinguishers till the time there's fire, you really don't need a mitigation plan unless, you know, there is an issue, like you're saying, we are going through climate change. Yeah. So how do we bring in technology? What I can think on top of my head is, like, there is Jal Jeevan Mission, which is trying to assess the quality of water across the country. There are alerts that are telling individuals that, you know, this level of particular mineral, etc., is going low over a period of time. If someone is monitoring air, soil, water on a consistent basis, the extinguishing part of it is going to get a little easier. So how IT comes in is, while we are sampling, we are creating alerts. And those alerts are thrown to the right individual in the right department. Those insights are thrown at the right time. So yeah, I think that's what I have to add here.
Yeah. Sir, Mr. Shukla, yeah. So you've been an industry veteran. So when we talk about the sugar industry, exports is a crucial aspect. Like I read recently, now the government, the central government has made some changes where you can swap your export quota for domestic quota with other states or other mills. So in UP, do you think it's a disadvantage that it's not located next to a coast, which sort of discourages exports from mills? And is that something that the state really lags behind on?
See, UP is a landlocked place.
Yeah.
And
generally, I'm sorry, generally export of horticultural products also. Just being away from the coast is...
See, as far as horticulture is concerned, a lot can be done by air.
Yeah.
But when it comes to products like sugar, it cannot be done by air,
Yeah.
I have seen vegetables and things like that, fast degrading products. They are air freighted. I've been in Canada for several years.
Yeah.
And at least 4 aircrafts land in Canada, Toronto itself, that bring vegetables from India. So if they can fly from Bombay, they can fly from Lucknow as well.
Yeah.
They can fly from Delhi, they can fly from here. So all we need to do is to connect ourselves. Mm-hmm. We can certainly do those exports. But as far as bulk products, we say pulses, wheats, grain, sugar, landlock is an impediment. It's difficult. We add a cost to it. Government has been doing subsidies.
Yeah.
But again, if we have a lot of market within neighborhood, we don't really want to bother into exports as much.
Yeah. I'm sorry, the buzzer just went off, so that's a sign. Thank you so much to all our esteemed panelists for giving us your time. And certainly we can't talk much. I mean, we can go on and on talking about how agriculture, because it's such a crucial part of our economy and especially of UP. But here's hoping, things improve and the government achieves what it wants to achieve in its road to $1 trillion economy. Thank you so much.